I think we're starting to see little cracks form or things happen here and there. I know when, the Minneapolis Council voted, unanimously to get rid of the police there in that city. It wasn't long after that, and I think even the NAACP was involved in this. The black leaders of that community came and said, excuse me, you didn't ask us what we thought about this, and we're against abolishing the police. And I'm like, whoa. So I think, and this goes into my next subject about the cancel culture, I think we're seeing fissures and a start of a civil war on the left, between the old left and the new left.
Yeah.
Now, right now, the new left is winning in politics. I think Nancy Pelosi, whether she realizes or not, is on her way out, and the people like AOC are going to take over that party. Whether they run it into the ground or not remains to be seen. But there was a couple interesting things happened recently. And Victor Davis Hanson wrote about this about 3 weeks ago, about how the cultural revolutions usually die because they start eating their own. And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
good example of this, very quickly, is Oliver Stone came out yesterday, and he absolutely berated Hollywood for what it's doing.
Wow.
And the racism. This is Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
He's a far left. He's a liberal, but he's one of those that you just said. He's an old liberal. He's not the new. And I think you're right. They're eating their own.
Yep. Harper's Magazine ran a letter about a week ago that was signed by 150 liberals, and most of them the old-style liberals from academia or journalism. And a couple lines from this letter, it says, the forces of illiberalism are gaining strength throughout the world and have a powerful ally in Donald Trump, who represents a real threat to democracy. I had to laugh at that. Donald Trump, an illiberalist.
Yeah, okay.
They had to get that in there to try to cover their tracks a little bit. The free exchange of information and ideas, the lifeblood of a liberal society, is daily becoming more constricted. It is now all too common to hear calls for swift and severe retribution in response to perceived transgression of speech and thought. More troubling still, institutional leaders in a spirit of panic damage control are delivering hasty and disproportionate punishment instead of considered reforms. We are already paying the price in a greater risk aversion among writers, artists, and journalists who fear for their livelihoods if they depart from the consensus or even lack sufficient zeal and agreement. Boy, is that not hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I know it.
So, of course, after the letter came out, some of the people that signed it were targeted on Twitter, and predictably they backtracked pretty fast.
Of course they did, because they're scared. They're afraid.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the media are too. I mean, they are robots, but I think they're robots because they don't want to offend anybody. There's and I must have, I've never heard of this lady before, but a journalist named Margaret Wente, is that how you pronounce her name? She's used to write years ago. She's retired. Used to write for the Globe. She recently was made a member of the Quadrangle Society at Macy's College in Toronto. And as soon as that happened, there was an uproar because many years ago she had written that the narrative of college rape was wildly exaggerated. And for that, she was severely attacked, and she eventually had to withdraw her membership from the society. One person said, how are me and my friends and colleagues supposed to feel safe sitting across from her at dinner? Oh, isn't that so sad? I'm just imagining world leaders reading stuff like that and laughing themselves silly. But here's how Ms. Wente concludes her article. It says, I wish the folks at Macy College well, but they'll have a hard time turning their 1960s take on Oxford into a woke utopia that will satisfy their critics. And the sight of their panic is blood in the water for the same folks who came after me. There is no way they can cleanse themselves of the stain of white privilege. Ultimately, the only way they'll be able to atone for their sins is to cancel themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly 100% right, and that's what they're doing. When you see these reports and these articles like the one I told you about Hollywood Today, and you see all of this stuff going on where they're beginning to turn on each other, we can all see it. And it's actually, these people think that they're so high and mighty that nobody's going to come after them?
Yeah.
Well, I got news. And I think some of those mayors and governors had a wake-up call, especially in Seattle, when they showed up at her house and threatened her home and family. This is what they will do, because they don't care. The Marxist belief and these radical people from, the Rules for Radicals book that came out, they're following it perfectly. But I do believe that all of this is going to implode on them. I really do.
Yeah. Well, one nice thing it has been the last couple of days, the gentleman that's the CEO of, is it Goya Foods?
Oh, yes.
He, Robert Unanu, sorry, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. But he came out and praised Trump. He said, we have an incredible builder, and we pray. Oh, my gosh, he praised Trump and said he was going to pray. Oh, my God.
Oh, no. Dracula's cross. No.
So, phasers on full force, Mr. Sulu. So, anyway, it's been heartening to see. I went out to Julian Castro's Twitter page. Not that I really wanted to, but he put some, he attacked this man. And a lot of the comments from people on that Twitter page said, oh, well, I'm going to go out. I've never bought Goya Foods, but I'm going to go out now and buy a bunch of it.
And there's a big push out here in California to do that. People are buying it and taking it to the food pantries out here.
Yeah, so in this case, I think it's backfired on people. And like you said, you were somewhat optimistic. I think when you see things like this, I think this is just a little taste of what's, percolating up out there. The people really can't say what they want to say, but they're gonna speak at the ballot box in November.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. And you know something, the other thing that just I wish, and I just hope all the time that these sports teams would not bow down to these people. Yeah. I wish they would stand up. Now the Redskins, they changed their name. Now they want to take away the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, it's like, people stand up. America is behind you, man. Don't do this. I mean, I keep just saying that every day. Don't bow down to these people. Don't.
Yeah.
And yet they do. Is it the almighty dollar? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the Redskins
they're going to lose more in the end than they think they're going to reap.
Yeah, the Redskins were pressured by Nike, and plus they wanted to build a new stadium, and the sponsors withdrew if they didn't change their name. So that's what happened there. But it's not just that other stuff that's happened with the NFL. I am a lifelong diehard NFL fan, and I cannot tell you how angry I am at what I see happening, because that was the one place that I could go and get away from all this political stuff. I mean, I'm a political, novice. I love looking at it and analyzing it, but come Sunday, when I turn the football on, I want to get away from that, and now I can't.
Yep. Now you can't, and they're going to make it worse because they're going to allow them to put social justice slogans on their jerseys.
Yeah.
So that even when they're in the huddle, you're going to have to read that garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're willing to let people have Bible quotes on the back of their jerseys, which I guarantee you they won't.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, people think, oh, well, the Redskins changed the name. That'll be done with that. No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking down.
They're going to go on to the next. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking at some of the NFL team names. Who's next? Probably the Dallas Cowboys, because, Cowboys carry guns and kill people.
That's right.
The San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers were greedy gold prospectors that came out west in the 1860s.
They were white men.
Yes.
The Patriots.
Yes.
What about them?
Too pro-America.
You can't. The Patriots, no.
The Cleveland Browns, boy, if that's not just, a racist term, even though it was named after a coach, most people, these millennials, won't realize that.
No, of course, and they won't even bother to look.
Yeah. The Minnesota Vikings. Everybody knows the Vikings were just raiders that took land. So, here's another thing I thought was hilarious. I saw an ad when I was going to the NFL.com earlier of the New Orleans Saints having a shirt where the Saints symbol is in red, white, and blue. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Didn't their quarterback, Drew Brees, just get excoriated for defending the flag a couple of weeks ago, and now you're trying to sell a shirt with red, white, and blue in it? Is that not like the height of hypocrisy?
Well, yeah. Plus, that name's got to go.
Yeah.
Saints. That's got to go.
Well, there are a couple of teams that are standing firm so far. The Atlanta Braves, and the Chicago Blackhawks, who were actually named after a hero in the Native American legends. But now, one mistake, though, they made, the owner or the team said, well, we're going to educate people on who that man was. I'm like, that's not going to work. You're going to eventually have to cave because nobody's going to know that. Because the Redskins symbol was on their helmets today was designed by a Native American back in 1972.
There again, they want to take that away from them.
Yeah. Now it's time for my segment on the wonderful, crazy, liberal entertainment industry mocking. And this time, well, let's just say this. The Dixie Chicks no longer have the crown of the stupidest PR move ever pulled in the history of music. And if people don't remember, the Dixie Chicks were the ones that made very derogatory comments about George W. Bush overseas somewhere during the middle of the Iraq War, and then they had to go. I think the only place I see them now is on the back of milk carton bottles. Has anybody seen this group? So, but the new award goes to Lady Antebellum. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yes, I have.
This story just keeps getting better and better. I mean, I have to say this from it's just, you have to laugh at this stuff. So here's the scoop. Lady Antebellum is a country group, and they decided they were going to change their name to Lady A to get rid of the antebellum, the whole, South from the Civil War era. Then they discovered that the name was already used by an Afro-American blues singer for decades. She accused the band of exercising its white privilege and not even checking to see if the name was used. You'll never guess what the singer's name is. Do you know it, Morgan?
No, what's her name?
Anita White.
No, really? You can't make this stuff up.
But that's not the end of the story. That would be funny enough if it ended there. White tells Rolling Stone she's frustrated that Lady Antebellum hadn't gone to her before making the decision, pointing out the irony in changing a name in support of racial equality while simultaneously taking another one from a black performer. Quote, "This is my life. Lady A is my brand. I've used it for over 20 years, and I'm proud of what I've done. This is too much right now. They're using the name because of a Black Lives Matter incident that for them is just a moment in time. If it mattered, it would have mattered to them before. It shouldn't have taken George Floyd to die for them to realize that their name had a slave reference to it. It's an opportunity for them to pretend they're not racist or pretend that this means something to them. If it did, they would have done some research, and I'm not happy about that. You found me on Spotify easily. Why couldn't they?" For them to reach out, not even reach out, is pure privilege. I'm not going to lay down and let this happen to me. But now the burden of proof is on me to prove that my name is in fact mine, and I don't even know how much I'll have to spend to keep it. So then, the latest development is that the country group Lady A, formerly known as Lady Antebellum, has filed a lawsuit against this black singer who has performed as Lady A for years. They filed a lawsuit in federal court after negotiations with Anita White broke down. According to the lawsuit, the band is seeking a ruling that their use of the trademark Lady A does not infringe on White's alleged trademark rights off the same name. The band is not seeking monetary damages. Oh, no, they wouldn't do that. According to the lawsuit, the band applied for trademarks for the name Lady A for entertainment services and for use on clothing back in 2010, and no oppositions were filed by any person or entity. When we learned that Ms. White had also been performing under the name Lady A, we had a heartfelt discussion with her about how we could all come together and make something special and beautiful out of this moment. we've never even entertained the idea that she shouldn't also be able to use the same Lady A and never will. Today's action doesn't change that. So there's the whole story about how Lady Antebellum is trying to take this name, so, or at least share it with this lady. It's just just amazing.
They never should change their name to begin with. Just stay who you are.
Right. I know
how to fix it. Just stay who you are.
Their woke moment ended up causing them more trouble. Like you said, if they just shut up and kept performing, because nobody was saying anything about it that I'm aware of.
No.
And of course, I mentioned the Dixie Chicks earlier. I'm sorry, they're not called the Dixie Chicks anymore. They're called just the Chicks, because Dixie, has all the connotation.
I'm a politic, so.
Yeah, oh, God. I guess I'm a racist now since I write for them. Anyway.
I guess you are.
So, and while I'm at it, I would like to say that both Morgan and I do write for Politichicks, and both enjoy that. I consider it an honor. Anne-Marie Morel has given me the opportunity to write for them, and
I know it. You have some great pieces on there too.
Well, thank you.
Really great, and they get shared all over the place.
And I really enjoy doing this PTZ, which was your idea, and I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying this as well. I feel like I'm making, even in a small way, hopefully a bigger way, making a contribution. I'm not standing on the sideline while this stuff is going on.
And this is what we need to do. This is what all of us need to do. We need to communicate and get the word out, because people who are afraid to come out of the shadows and afraid that they're going to be called names or whatever, they have to become emboldened. And I think that if they see more and more people coming and speaking out, they're going to join. And that's what we need. We need it, because I felt so much better when I read this morning that letter from that opinion writer from the New York Times. I felt really emboldened, like, man, she took them down. She took the New York Times and told them like it was. I think that's great. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. David Mamet once told me, you know who David Mamet is, the great, director and screenwriter and novelist, a Hollywood darling of the left.
Right.
David Mamet told me at lunch one day, he said, I have no more friends in Hollywood. I have no more friends since I've come out as a conservative. Right. No more parties, no more invites, no more offers, no more nothing. But he said, I am not going to be silenced. I am going to continue to speak out. And I thought to myself, that took a lot of courage, because I never was a leftist. I never was a liberal. Right. So I didn't have that many friends. It was just really my career. That was it, that took the hit. But as a human being, as a person, when you lose your friends or family members or whatever because they disagree with you, that's when we really have to be strong.
In this society today, though, it's like there's almost like no reconciliation. Even if somebody proposed that, I don't think it would be possible. At least not right now.
It's even, John, it's gotten to the point now where in California, I don't know if it's the same with you guys, but in California, if you wear a mask, you're a liberal. If you go without a mask, you're a Trump supporter. I mean, that's how bad it is out here.
Wow.
Yes, it's crazy. Literally, they'll look at you and immediately, if you don't have a mask on, you are a Trump supporter, whether you are or not.
Yeah. Maybe I ought to get a MAGA mask and wear that. That would be... Well, I think Trump is a stopgap right now. I think he's the one thing, like the dam holding back the flood of socialism. And I do believe he's going to be reelected. I'm confident of that. But I think I've said it before. I don't worry so much about 2020 as what's going to happen in January 2025 when he leaves office.
Yeah,
Will there be somebody to carry his mantle, or I don't know.
Well, like they always said in the theater when there was a standing ovation and the person ahead of you go, how am I ever going to follow that?
yeah, that is for sure. Although I do think, real quick, I'll make a prediction. I think that governor of South Dakota could be involved in some national politics in the future.
Oh, yeah. I agree too. But then again, John, there's always Kanye West.
Yeah. Well, hey, he would be better
Right?
if he was running as a Republican. He'd still be better than Joe Biden.
This is true.
So maybe he and The Rock can run in 2024 and have a cage match at WrestleMania.
Could you imagine?
Although,
Hey, listen, nothing is impossible anymore.
hey, if Trump has won the presidency, then all bets are off. I can tell you that right now because
Oh yeah, I agree.
yeah. Well, I'm going to end today's show with a very special dedication. Last week, Charlie Daniels passed away, and you know he is. I always enjoyed his music. One of the best fiddle players that ever lived.
Yep, Patriot as well.
Yeah, and I remember I have fond memories when our family took a trip to Florida in the summer of 1979. Sure, and boy, oh boy, that song, "The Devil Went Down to Georgia," was all over the radio. It was that and "My Sharona" by the Knack. That was like the only two songs you heard on the radio that summer. But Charlie Daniels, and this was done several years ago. I didn't realize this. Did a song called not a song. It's a what do you call it? Recitation of a poem he wrote called "My Beautiful America," and they had redone it for a YouTube video with some different pictures. It was actually posted on Friday, and then he died on Sunday or Monday. He put it out there like days before he passed away. So I'm going to play this, and we'll just end the show with this. And so this concludes another great episode of the PTZ. I'm John Baldwin.
And I'm Morgan Brittany.
And we'll see you next time.
Have you ever spent the late afternoon watching the purple shadows deepen in the Arizona desert? Or seen a herd of elk plow their way through waist-deep snow on a cold Colorado dawn? Did you ever see the sun go down in Hawaii or see the stormy waves break over the rock-bound coast of Maine? Or have you ever seen an eagle fly up out of the mists of Alaska or a big October moon hanging full over the still Dakota Badlands? Have you ever tasted the gumbo in New Orleans, barbecue in Carolina, or the chicken wings in Buffalo? Have you ever had Brunswick stew in Macon, or cornbread in Birmingham, or brisket slow-cooked over hill country mesquite wood? Did you ever drink the water from a gurgling branch in Utah, or stand on the mountain above El Paso del Norte and see the lights twinkling clear over into Mexico? Did you ever jangle horses in the pre-dawn stillness of a perfect Texas day and watch their shod hooves kicking up sparks on the volcanic rock, or tended a trot line on a foggy Carolina morning, or heard the distant song of a lovesick whippoorwill in a pristine Tennessee late night? Have you seen the faces on Mount Rushmore, or stood at the Vietnam Monument? Have you ever crossed the mighty Mississippi, or been to the daddy of them all in Cheyenne, Wyoming, or seen the mighty Vols run out on the football field on a chilly autumn afternoon? Did you ever see the Chicago skyline from Lakeshore Drive at night, or the New England foliage in the fall, or the summer beauty of the Shenandoah Valley, or Indiana covered with new snow? Did you ever see a herd of wild horses running free across the empty spaces of Nevada, or caught a walleye pike out of a cold Wisconsin stream, or marveled at the tall ships docked in the harbor at Baltimore? Did you ever see the early morning dew sparkling on the bluegrass, or the wind stir the wheat fields on a hot Kansas afternoon, or driven the lonely stretches of old Route 66? Have you ever heard the church bells peal their call to worship on an early Sunday in some small town in the deep south, or passed through the redwood forests as the sun was going down? Have you ever been to Boise or Baxley or Beaufort or Billings? Have you ever passed through Sanford or Suffolk or San Angelo? Have you ever seen the falls at Niagara, the Ice Palace in St. Paul, or the Gateway to the West? This then is America, the land God blesses with everything. And no Eiffel Tower, no Taj Mahal, no Alps, no Andes, no native hut, nor royal palace can rival her awesome beauty, her diverse population, her monolithic majesty. America the free, America the mighty, America the beautiful. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.